an overall positive end. And overall end. So you can win on negatives and lose on positives, which means you lost, or you could lose on negatives and win on positives, which means you won. So in other words, you can get your butt kicked by some bully, but never had stooped to that position to beat him down. Now, also, it doesn't mean you have to catch a beat down either, because your objective is just to subdue him without killing him, which means like judo, or there's a million things. I'm not going to go into it too much, but there's a million things where, you don't want to kill him, but you could sure enough check him. Even though there are negative people that will still create negative consequences, you could still use that to your advantage. There's so many ways that you could use that to your advantage. I'm not going to go into it because that's a book in itself. Distinguishing the difference between positive and negative energies and how wars are won and lost using these structures. The reason that people will use might and power to show you consequences, which is a projection of how negative people use power. They have won a war, but they have lost the battle, because it is not a question of might that makes right. It is a question of right that makes right. Negative people may at times win an action, but because of the consequences of its energy, it can never win for motives that are in the beginning and in the end are tied together. So whatever energy they use at the end is this very same energy that's going to give them the overall end effect over time. War is generally won by the lesser of two evils, but the key word is the lesser of the evil. The negative force is always divided against itself and therefore can never win in the end, because the overall winning is a positive trait and not a negative trait. The negative force is a win-lose energy of overexertion of energy, illogical, self-destructive, and always loses in the end, and its end outcome is destruction. Much of our history as humans has been destroyed and lied about during the centuries. These wars that have been going on to control and to keep people ignorant to the truth. One can project fear in many ways, as in loud noises or threatening in a loud manner. So, and also it's like slamming your hand on a desk. That's also a way of projecting energy. When someone is not, especially when someone's not expecting it, and that's called startling. Also, the fear of not knowing, and even though it exists, you can defeat it with rules of possibilities. But if you are gullible and believe that whatever you're told, then you will tend to be afraid, as opposed to those who know the difference between truth and lies by a process of knowledge and wisdom. And therefore, your understanding breaks you free of this, and you're actually a free being. There is another way to project fear, as in insulting, as in using the continuous word of fear and reasons to fear. Of course, the solution then is just to follow the word bravery and think of yourself of bravery. It's just like somebody curses God in front of you, you can praise God in front of them. Now, people use God's name in vain, and if they do, they're free to do that, but you are also free to praise God. So they try to also use that way of speaking for you to join that way of speaking, so you can also not follow the way of strength. Intimidation is initiating fear by creating an action that other people can believe is going to affect them, but you can defeat intimidation by believing that you can handle the worst that can happen. Number 6, confusion. Confusion is to make indistinctive, unclear, and jumble. So that once you know that what confusion is, you will then understand the difference between projecting confusion and perceiving confusion. But it must be attained either by knowledge or wisdom. And if you neither get knowledge or don't have wisdom, then you will still be in that state. That's why many people who have great knowledge are not allowed to publish, or even for people to hear you, or even for somebody to get 6 feet near you. Because if you start going into, let's just suppose you find the poor righteous person, poor righteous teacher, and you be like, yeah, I want to get in with some of that knowledge because I want to be free. So by the time you get in with them, all of a sudden you're going to find yourself in deep problems. You didn't even learn everything. Had you learned everything, they wouldn't have been able to touch you. But because you don't know, all these problems are going to happen. People are going to be like, stay away from him. This guy's crazy, or this woman's crazy, or whatever. And you're going to be under so much pressure because you didn't even attain or build the knowledge before they had a chance. You didn't get a chance to build the knowledge, but they had deliberately dissuaded you from being with that person. Then you would always still be slave because you didn't go past all your friends, because they might be like, we'll all leave you, and then they want to put you in the same boat. But if you would have understood that the better boat was to go with the poor righteous teacher, then you would be free. Then they would get more poor righteous teachers, and then put people in positions where we can all grow. Then we can eradicate this. But is to understand that that it is through this confusion and this deception of confusion, and for you not to have the ability to get the knowledge that you need to attain to be free. That's why giving knowledge or giving books to slaves at one point was and still is a problem to many people, because they don't want you to know the truth, because once you know the truth, it'll set you free. And then once you're free, that means that they're no longer free to be your master. So you got to clarify, you got to outgrow this system. And as with all negatives, there is a perception and a projection. So your knowledge that you actually need to attain, that's been robbed from you for thousands of years, here you are given this make-believe knowledge, or what they allow you to see, but there's stuff that they don't allow you to see, and that's where they have a problem. Now, they'll let you have whatever knowledge in a lot of these collegiate books, and I don't care what college you go to. I don't care if it's the best schools in the world. They're still not going to give you the full skinny on exactly how all this works, because there's even higher and higher authorities that still want you as a yes man, aka slave. As with all negatives, there is possession and projection. There is a difference between someone who is projecting confusion and someone who is being confused. You notice that there's a serious difference, and that's why they don't want you to read. That's why they don't want you to learn the human. Well, it's coming about now, but there's a lot of hemorrhaging. People's got to do something, because we're going nowhere fast. And before we all kill each other, we got to at least know all the truth, so you know what's going on. there's a difference between projection and perception, and projection comes from a person's beliefs. In other words, their choice and perception is what you are handed. When someone projects onto you, you can use that projection in a positive or negative manner. So they're going to project this negative understanding, confusion, and negative energy. And once they give that to you, you then have to decide, well, is that person my master? And I'm going to allow him to make me feel as he wants and make me behave as he wants in a more animalistic as opposed to an enlightened being. You could use someone's projections to help them or to hurt them. So most people are confused because they do not know any better. In other words, their lack of knowledge and the lack of understanding of things that are said or done. Projected confusion is when people or a person is communicating in a pattern that is not clear and jumbled. Perceived confusion is unable to understand that another person is projecting confusions for variations, reasons, or is saying that you are confused or the lack of understanding. Here are some examples of how people perceive or project confusions, such as instead of giving you one time, they may give you multiple times. Come around 2, 3, I don't know, 4 o'clock. Come around that time. And you figure, well, what time do you want me to come? Is it 2, 3, 4? Or they won't give you AM or PM. They'll give you one date. Instead of giving you one date, they'll give you several dates. Instead of giving you their one title, they'll give you 5 different titles. The instructor may hand out different assignments with different paperwork, each one contradicting another student's paperwork. So you're not getting one procedure, you're getting 20 procedures for one outcome. Instead of saying one thing, they will say it's many. Instead of saying many things, they will say it's one thing. And this works on ambiguous pronoun referencing as well. You know, not saying, oh, is it he, she, it, what the. Putting things out of order. And all this is done deliberately. Not giving you all the information, giving you too much information at one time, saying you need to rush when there is no need to rush. Again, rushing is also a part of confusion. Saying that they don't understand you when you are clear. Getting angry if you don't understand them. When you are unclear. Getting angry if you don't understand them when they are unclear. So they're unclear, and you'll be like, what did you say? They'll be like you're dumb. Incomplete dates or putting the wrong dates on paperwork. Check out your paperwork. I guarantee you a lot of them are wrong. Giving you too much of the same letter. Saying they mailed you something and never mailed it. And they keep going on. And then telling you that they're your buddy, but in reality, they're your enemy. But there's all these subtle things that tells you. Again, if you're exposing it by the 14, you'll know. Doubling up on words with different semantic meanings, getting you to be responsible for others who are deliberately working against you, overreacting, acting like they can read other people's minds, directing you towards the wrong decision or direction, giving you the wrong information, wrong directions, telling you where to go but not giving you the exact directions, or if even the address exists. Never been there, just giving you something, then pointing to the right but then telling you to go left. Keeping a messy house is also a part of confusion. And so is hoarding. And then asking why is it so messy, or if they're keeping the house messy by deliberately putting things back where they don't belong, and then asking you why you don't know where things are. phrasing a question or a statement that's contradictory, and then having other people who are in the room to collaborate, like saying what their confusing statements are clear, and their clear statements are confusing. And then intelligent individuals are acting real dumb, especially when it comes to you. But when it's smart when it comes to them. Giving one information at one time and then giving you some contradictory information at a later time. Granted, that could be done, not deliberately. But clarification will tell you where they stand, asking them to be clear. So beginning a conversation positively and then quickly switching their whole being, going from nice to mean in like 2 minutes. And confusion also could be stereotyping men, stereotyping women, stereotyping, people in general, stereotyping nationalities, stereotyping religions, asking a confusing question as in incomplete sentences, or asking you, did you see the clippers, and then pointing to the fingernails, getting you to assume they're asking you for the fingernail clippers as opposed to asking you for the hair clippers. So they'll be like, hey man, you got some clippers, and they'll touching their nails, and then you be like, sure, here, and then you throw them or you give them you hand them the nail clippers, and they was like, no, I wasn't talking about nail clippers, I'm talking about hair clippers. It goes on and on. There's many of them, but they all follow the same pattern, and it was through these positives and negatives. You can see exactly where they stand, who are their people, and you can see that the negative players are always consistently inconsistent. So they'll be positive, negative, positive, negative. They'll be clear in a minute, non-clear. Right in a minute, wrong. Right, wrong, right, wrong, clear, unclear. It's confusion. It's never one straight, cohesive system. I'm sure that many of you are wondering, how is there so many different religions and yet only one God? Even if you looked at religion with the same Bible, there's still many different contradictions just because of the way it's written. And it's a book of codes. You need to understand the code before you understand the book. And there's people who read literally, and there are people who read figuratively. There's people that read literally and figuratively, and there's people some people just don't care either way. Whether the religion is Jewish, Muslim, Christian, Buddhism, and even Hindu, there are even still more denominations in each and every one of them. There are divisions within divisions, and it's ironic that these religions that claim one loving God but find they hate being ostracizing others, or apathy is the primary motive that leads to their actions, or the words of their actions, that creates a deliberate separation between all the people in the church and between the people in the church and the God, regardless of the religion. There is only one cohesive message in every Bible and every religion, all writing the same thing, and these are all secret books written in a way that you need to understand it before you can decipher any of them. The exception would maybe Buddhism, because Buddhism is a little more upfront, but even their understanding in the end doesn't have the full entire story. But once you understand the basics of the human instructions, you can therefore read any book and decipher it quickly and easy, and caught up exactly as what is a righteous ritual or dogma, and know the truth between the purpose of religion, and which is to bring us closer or join us closer to God and with one another, and through this conditioning and sharing of love and joy and peace and fellowship between one another in a language or a language and a codex and an expression of oneself that is